All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a show that I have looked forward to for a long time because today we're pitting I against AI. I do want to do a little disclaimer that no AI or I will be harmed in the filming of this episode. All AI and I are here voluntarily. Well, maybe not the AI, but that's kind of the point of AI. But yes, everybody will be happy when this show is over and no AI or I will be harmed. But first, let's talk a little bit about the I that I'm talking about. This is Jiang. I'm talking about Chinese Canadian writer of speculative fiction and poetry. You're probably already familiar with some of her work. In 2021, she was a finalist for the Nebula Award for the Best Short Story for her 2022 story, Give Me English, which is an excellent story. She's just come out with, or will just come out with, LINGHUN from Dark Matter Inc. But the story that we're talking about right now is her very latest, I Am I, which is, well, you know what? I'll let her tell you what it is about in just a minute because it kind of refers to our challenge. So, in just a second, we're going to meet I, and then we'll find out about I versus AI.
Launch sequence activated. This is not the drill.
Welcome, I, who now I want to say AI so badly, but I. That wasn't a very convoluted and confusing intro, was it?
Well, thank you for having me. I just want to add though, for my Nebula finalist story, it's for this year's award, and then it was published in 2022.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's actually on Wikipedia like that.
Oh,
2022 story, Give Me English. So yeah, that
yeah.
is something that we need to go to the Wikipedia editors and have them correct.
I mean, it is a story published in 2022, but it's for like the award
This
this
Nebula,
year.
yeah, which
Yeah.
is actually coming up later this month in a couple weeks, right? It's on my calendar. That's going to be so exciting. I've already bought my tickets, virtual, of course, but I'm going to be there cheering you on. So, and you
Thank
actually,
you.
don't you have two things on there?
No, just one, I believe.
Okay. Now she's like, I gotta go check.
No. I'm pretty sure it's just one.
Yeah, I think one is enough right now. I mean, that's pretty dang good. That's
It's
well, and this
wild.
tell me a little bit about Give Me English then, because I have not gotten to read that yet. It's in my to be read pile, which is a little bit teeming.
That's completely fair. I feel like we're all being buried with so many releases these days. It's absolutely wild. And with like
Yeah,
horror really booming, I feel like recently, it's just unending. Like it's great, but it's just
yeah.
I don't have enough time.
It is, yeah, it's overwhelming, especially because I keep trying to read Asian women in horror, which used to be pretty fast and easy. It's not anymore, which is wonderful.
Yes. But yeah, so for Give Me English, it's basically about a society where language is used as currency, and we follow our main character who is slowly losing all her words. And she trades a lot of her native tongue, which was Mandarin Chinese, for English. So that's like the general premise of
Oh wow, okay, that just moved to the very top of my I need to read list. That's very cool. I love the idea of using language as currency because it is currency. I mean, really,
It
we
really
trade
is.
words for royalties and everything else.
Hmm.
So wow, all right. Well, very cool. Tell me a little bit about how you came into writing horror. Like what is have you always written horror? Is this a really recent thing for you? Have you always been a writer and you're like kind of moving into this genre or?
So I started writing horror actually during the pandemic. Well, I started like doing writing more often during the pandemic because you have more time and you're at home a lot of the time too. And I feel like like I was writing horror without knowing I was writing horror because a lot of like the anxieties and the isolation and the fear of what's happening in the world just kind of manifests on the page, and
Mhm.
it essentially becomes like very dark work, right? And become like horror. So
That's awesome though. I mean, that's writing is like one of the best therapies, so that's very cool. Where do you think you will take it now? Like, do you see this as like, oh, well, now that the pandemic's over, well, I mean, it's not over. Did not mean to get political there with that statement because it depends on who you talk to. But now that we've kind of moved out of that into other areas of concern, do you feel like you're going to keep using writing as the medium to, because like there's still a lot going on that's concerning in the world? Or do you feel like
I
you're
feel
kind of be like, I'm going to do something else now?
I
Please
feel
say
like
no. Please say you're going to keep going.
I mean, I write in a very variety of genres. So I do like fantasy and sci-fi and horror, but all of it is on like the dark side. I wouldn't say all of it would be horror, but then right now it's like moving a lot into fiction, or at least like science fiction fantasy, in the sense that like with like growing environmental and climate concerns, it's
Hmm.
taken up yeah, a huge part of my writing, like dark fantasy and horror work too, but I'm doing a lot of sci-fi as of late, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, especially with all the things going on with like AI, and
Mhm,
mid journey and like robots that have emotions and like all these kind of things, I can see that as a like it is going to have to influence our writing unless we are just
mhm.
gothic only. I will only write, this little genre. Well, I want to go a little bit into you immigrated to Canada with your family, I think when you were 4, right?
Mhm.
Do you find that as like a big influence on your work?
I feel like it definitely is. I feel like I explored the concept of like migration or immigration and identity a lot in my work. And there's always like a sense of unbelonging or like a fear of not being able to belong, and like an exploration of what home is considered to different people or what it means.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think this is something that surprised me recently, especially because we had the Unquiet Spirits and we had the Black Cranes and we had the torture. So this has been like a topic, but no matter how Asian you are, I think is where I'm going. It seems like we all have that same, because I thought that was me. Like I'm only 25% Okinawan and I didn't even know that Okinawan wasn't Japanese until I was like 30, so like I have no claim here. I'm never gonna belong, but then you don't belong in the other world. But that seems to be even if you're 100% like Chinese, like my Chinese friends still feel like that, but they were born over here. It's like you were not there, so you will always be othered. Like, do you feel like that's true at all, or?
I definitely think so. Even though I was like born in China, and when I came when I was 4, so I have been there for like a few years at least, and like go back and forth when I visit. It sometimes feel like I'm not Chinese even though I am, which is
Yeah.
like weird to say if you think about it. Like it makes me feel as though like if I'm not fluent in speaking the language, reading and writing the language, it makes me like not part of it, even though I like grew up in the culture, and it's just like how I'm raised by my parents who have lived there for like most of their life, right? And my grandmother who like basically has lived in China all her life. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that I wonder how we will evolve going forward, because now this is like it used to be kind of like everybody was an island. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't like the Asian movement that there is now, and the acceptance. Like the fact that there's too many Asian women horror writers on my to be read list, is amazing. I wonder how that will develop, going forward in the genre. But I want to talk about I Am I real quick, because that's kind of one of the reasons we're here. Tell me a little bit about it, and when is it coming out? Where can we find it? Because I think as we're releasing this show, it's going to be coming out, so we can pre-order it.
Oh, yes. So I will read the blurb on the back of the book, which is, if you have the opportunity to give up humanity for efficiency, mechanical invincibility, and to surpass human limitations, would you? I is a cyborg under the guise of an AI writing program who struggles to keep up with the never blinking city of Emmett as it threatens to leave all those like her behind. Um, yeah, so it is coming out June 20th, very soon
Oh,
with
yeah.
with shortwave publishing, and it should be available anywhere you get books soon. But for now, you can pre-order it directly from the shortwave website, and if you do, while supplies last, you can get like a limited edition bookplate with it and some battery stickers.
Ooh, nice.
Yes. And then I have an early copy of the book here without like all the additional blurbs that will go in, but this is basically what it looks like.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, did you model who did the cover? Like, is that based on you? Because it kind of looks like you.
So my mom actually hand painted on canvas, like a physical canvas, the original watercolor portrait for it. And then I took her portrait and put it into Procreate and added the um, tech aspects. And then our publisher, uh, Andrew, I'm gonna butcher the name. I'm so sorry. Lastufka, I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm so sorry if it's not. But he went in and did like the design, so like the color adjustments and the typography. And I can actually quickly show you what the original artwork looked like.
Oh,
This
very
will be
cool.
a special release.
Only here
and
you
kind
can
of
see just here.
yes. So this was my mom's original painting.
Oh, very cool.
Yes, and then we were like, "Okay, it's like it's beautiful, but it's not cyberpunk enough." So then I went in and adjusted it a little bit with the
Oh, nice.
yeah,
That
and
is so
then the final
cool.
product.
Yeah, hold up the original and that if you can. I'm going to see them both side by
Okay.
side.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, and then the original with the cyber.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is so cool. Does your mom do that a lot? That's like super handy to have an artist mom.
So she's actually very much like a realist and landscape artist, I would say. So she likes to like, sit out in the backyard and kind of like draw the trees and things like that. So she doesn't do a lot of like SFFH kind like related artwork. But
Mhm.
then she was like, I can get into it if you write more. And then I was like, okay,
Oh,
that
that's
would be
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we will look forward to more covers. I'm not going to say by your mom, but kind of by your mom, and then augmented by you. So
Yeah.
I have to say the first line of your blurb there, I felt like that was like almost accusing me because it's like, what would you do if this? I was like, that's kind of what I want. Is that wrong?
Right?
Because I mean, speaking of AI, yeah, I'm like, did I just do that right? Yes, AI, not I, because that's who we are speaking
hmm
to. Uh, what's your experience with AI? Like, what do you think? Like, that's the topic right now that everybody's
hmm
like, you either love it or hate it or think of it as a threat. It's going to take over
hmm
all of us. Like, what's your opinion on all this?
I feel like I'm very much the type of person who doesn't trust other people to do my work, even if it's just like scheduling. So even if it's like very painstaking work, I will try to do it all myself. And I actually have like a paper journal. So then I like put up like in all my schedule stuff on paper, but which is not convenient because if I'm out and someone's like, oh, what's your schedule like for the next week? And I'm like, I need to go home and check that. It's
Yeah,
not like
I'll let
even
you
in my
know.
phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do think it's like a very useful tool when it comes to like organization methods and helping you kind of like, let's say you have like scattered notes everywhere and you need it to like all be in one place and like kind of organized by subtitles or something like that. I feel like
Mhm.
AI can be a really, good tool for that. But to kind of like create work for you, I am skeptical and I would not touch
Yeah.
it. Um,
I will
yeah,
agree
so
with you there. That's kind of like why we're going to be touching it in a little bit. But it is from like what I've been doing with it, it is very doesn't have the creative spark. So I feel like as creators, we don't really have to fear, is all it can do is rehash uh,
Mhm.
what we've given it. So, well, in the future, do you see yourself partnering with? I don't know what the 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 feeling in your book is, if it's going to be very like dystopian, like AI is, going to take over and kill us all, or if it's like positive towards AI. So I don't know, I'm going to have to read this and find out. But do you see yourself in the future using it like for simple things like SEO, keyword optimization, like the
Mhm.
functions that aren't creative?
Mhm. I think to kind of like take the work out of very repetitive and tedious tasks, I would definitely consider using it because then it frees up a lot of time for me to actually do like the creative work that like I want
Yeah.
to do, right? Without having to be like, oh, now I have to like, go search up how to market things and all that stuff. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So many I's in this show. I would like to hear you read I Am I. If you have like a selection planned, or do you think you could read to us a little bit? Because I'm like really wanting to hear this now. How this, especially since I feel like that blurb kind of like was pointing fingers at me.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people actually ask me, they're like, "Oh my gosh, how do you like get so much done?" And I was like, you just don't sleep.
Yeah,
And
I
then
agree.
and then yeah, a lot of the times I'd be like, "Oh, if I can just like, replace part of my body so I don't have to sleep, and then I can just keep working and not have to rely on AI at the same time." But anyways, I will read about 5 or so minutes, I would say, from the opening. Um, yeah, because it's quite a short little piece. It's about, like, 12,500 words, so it's, like it's not quite, like, long.
Yeah, you have the floor. I'm going to give you the whole screen. Take as long as you need because I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this.
Alright, so here's the opening to I Am I. It's becoming difficult and dangerous to ignore my battery's rapid rundown time. At 8%, my memory functions are diminishing far too quickly. I've forgotten to charge before leaving work. Again. For me, forgetting is a dangerous thing. I hope the glitches don't cause a sudden short circuiting. The notification for my postponed for half a year maintenance glares from the watch I'm implanted into my wrist. I press snooze, my fingers trembling. I can't afford the bi-monthly checkups, but I'll need to replace my battery soon. Replacing my brain for a system that works faster, that limits error, and doesn't cause memory gaps becomes more appealing with each passing day. AIs don't have a fear of overworking, of needing sleep to prevent fatigue. My hands shake at the prospect of finally getting rid of the one thing outside my brain that hinders my productivity. To think my emotions will soon become a muted thing. I can't tell if I'm afraid or eager. I'll be able to work faster. Joy and pain won't affect me in the same way. None of my neighbors know I die with my battery rather than my heart. Most of them still believe I'm more human than robot, half metal and circuits. Being less human makes life easier. Technology is convenient. It's more dependable as a life force, more predictable. Emotions, humanity, mortality. Humans are such fragile things. A message from my mechanic, Joan, arrives, pinging my watch with an urgent tag. I've secured the battery you're looking for to make the full heart replacement. You're booked for tomorrow. I appreciate the straightforward tone, though part of me wants us to become friends given how long we've known each other. 3 years now, maybe four. I've lost track. But I suppose it will only become a nuisance to us both, draw us away from our focus if we care too much. I just have to hold on until tomorrow night. Another warning about my battery. I dismiss it and scramble to leave, grabbing my jacket, flung in the corner of my 11-foot by 11-foot box like unit to reach a charging port on time. I don't notice Auntie Nawani's entrance until she's long pushed her way into my unit's narrow space. I almost curse out loud as I mentally make a note to fix the lock. Auntie Nawani hovers by my elbow, trying to plug the clock she found last week into the port in my arm. I should be annoyed, but the feeling of familiarity, the sense of family she has somehow built in our community over time, even if we have no blood relation, comforts me. Sometimes I want nothing more than to collapse into Auntie Nawani, but to show such weakness will only create bad, time costing habits I cannot afford. Right now, I don't have the patience or battery life to entertain the elders' requests. Cold sweat wells at the bottom of my neck, collecting in the collar of my shirt, long due for a wash. Grime itches the parts of my back that remain skin rather than metal. I can almost hear my battery draining within me as the seconds tick past. Hold on a second. Just hold on a second. I don't have a second. Our arms flail, and I narrowly miss her head at the same time she accidentally sucker punches my shoulder. Cold air whisks down my lungs. I add shoulder plate to the list of replacements I will purchase when funds allow. She plugs the clock back in. The clock is precious to Auntie, but to me, it only serves as a reminder of the time I'm losing, the stutters of my heart when the passing minutes appear as a looming countdown within my mind. The old thing had washed ashore, waterlogged, paint half gone, with the second's hand missing. A great find, she explained, even though she'd cut herself on the jagged edge of rocks, and soiled her shoes trying to reach it by the edge of the lake. It never lasted long enough for the alarm to go off at the time she sets it for. Sometimes I feel like the clock, my energy levels and brain capacity always coming to a halt when I need the limitations removed most. The choking suffocation of imminent burnout, a faceless entity chasing me from behind with the shadowy fingers always just brushing the small of my back. I keep reminding her to toss it, to get a new watch, one that tells the time without stuttering, but she never has. The protective coating of the broken clock's wire is barely there, like flesh hanging from exposed bones. If unlucky, we both could be electrocuted. Look at how wonderful it is, Auntie Nawani insisted. There's a story behind this clock. Auntie, I swat her hand away once more, impulsively checking my battery again and again, just with each staccato movement. Just because I'm a cyborg, she sees me as both an endearing youth and a tool for her use. But sometimes it feels as though the latter is truer than the former. Here in the city of Emmett, we're more valuable as tools than humans. I'll stop there.
Ooh, I love it. You know what it kind of reminded me of is that whole thing that we have where, the Asian parent is like, well, you have to be a doctor or a lawyer or, the efficiency. That's what it really reminded me of, is like kind of going on that trope. Very cool. All right. I'm not going to say what happens next because now we all need to go read it. And we know we can pre-order it. And I've got that link below. I don't know. I just kind of really want to keep listening. All right. Well, I think I have this arc. Maybe. If not, I might bug I for this. But anyways, yeah, we need to read this story because like now I'm like totally caught on like what happens next. All right. Moving on. How about do you want to do some challenges? Because that's kind of like what we've kind of geared this up for, is we're going to pit you, the human, against the actual AI and see what happens. Creative versus, I guess, efficiency.
Yes.
All right, let's do this. All right. I'm going to come up with a prompt just now, like so. Oh, the pressure's on. And then AI will write that prompt, and we're just going to do like short drabble type pieces. And then while we're waiting, then I'm like AI, and then I will be writing that prompt as well. And she can read her prompt, and then I'll read ChatGPT 4's prompt, and then we'll pit this together. But yes, everybody will be. We're drawing the circle in the sand. All right, let me get over to chat, or let me get over here to here, and I will write a prompt. So how about what if a vampire is augmented with AI? Maybe. What do you think?
Oh.
So write me a short, I'm going to say drabble so we don't get like a 1,000-word story. Short drabble from
Okay.
chat.
Oh, but
Uh,
I don't know if I can do exactly 100 words, but I will
oh,
endeavor
no.
to.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be I'm just saying that so chat knows. Don't give us
Okay.
1,000 words. So say drabble, but we're not going to word count. Drabble story about. Well, the other day I asked Chat GPT for like 100 words or 500 words, and it gave me such a long thing. I was like, this is not, because I'm experimenting with it a bunch. So no,
Mhm.
none of my stories are written by chat. I have to specify that. But yeah, and it just completely did not follow directions. So write me a short drabble story about a vampire who, maybe falls in love with an AI.
Oh, okay.
Falls in love with an AI because
That's interesting.
it
Oh, there's
is
more.
eternal. What
Oh,
would that
huh.
story be? Okay. So I've put this in our private chat. Does that sound okay? Do you want to write to that?
Yeah, I like
Okay.
a challenge. I don't think I've written like a story about a vampire since a long time. So we will
Yeah.
see
Well,
how
that's
this
why
goes.
vampires are pretty. Like I think we've all moved beyond them, but I was like, yeah, let's do something very basic. Not that I'm saying vampires are basic. All the vampire fans do not get insulted at me right now. But like an old classic and then pairing it with something kind of new and see what happens. Now I
That is
actually
so
really do want to
interesting.
write this. All right. Well,
You
my next
should.
is do you want to see what chat writes before you start writing?
No, I'm gonna just go for it and then we can compare
Okay.
afterwards. That'll be fun, I think.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. So I'm going to pull chat down. I'll do actually chats after you do yours. So I'm going to share your screen. No pressure. And then you can write your thing. And then when you're done, I'll put it in chat because chat is like ridiculously easy.
Sounds good. So should
Okay.
we set a timer? Oh, I should have gotten like an on-screen timer that I can put at the side. But I guess that would be distracting too, so maybe not.
I do have a video, but it's only for 1 minute. So I could have had one that's longer, but now I only have a 1 minute one.
I guess we can just do like you can set a timer on your phone then, I suppose. And
Yeah.
then whenever that's up, you just tell me so I don't like get stuck thinking about how much time I have left.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. And I'm going to actually disappear while you're writing because I have to go grab my phone. I just realized I'm like, where is my phone?
Okay. No worries, no worries.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to mute myself and time starts now.
All
Well,
right.
when you're ready. And then,
Okay.
all right.
Now
And
it's
then
fine.
take time. Okay.
But that was a wild ride.
I love this. I'm sitting here watching you, right? Going, we got to do this all the time. Like, this is a thing. This is awesome. So, and I did find my phone. That took a while. I was like, my phone is usually attached to my hand. What happened? So, all right. Would you like to read yours? And then I'll do the same prompt into AI and we'll see what happens. Yes, AI. I'm gonna start
Alright,
calling it AI now. I'm just
I'll just like when I'm at the nebulas, every time someone says I'll just be like, me? What? There's a panel? Anyways. All right. So I'll just like repeat the prompt for those who might want to hear it. So
yeah,
write
yeah,
me a
because
drabble. Oh, I missed the word. Human human failures. Anyways, write me a drabble of a vampire who falls in love with an AI because it is eternal. What would that story be? So here is my story, I suppose. The service provider told me the app only costs a monthly subscription of $999.99. Very steep compared to what I'd pay for lollipops as a child. But I suppose love is a priceless thing, and the subscription would barely make a dent in my accumulated wealth from long, lonely centuries, that and the inheritance from my spouse who had passed last year. I told the police it was an accident, an unexpected disappearance. They never found the body, and I would never let them. At least with this app, the supposed AI companion of the highest and most sophisticated construction, thirst would not be an issue. I double clicked to confirm the payment, forgetting the cursed Face ID function can't see my face.
ooh, I love that. I kind of feel like this needs to be a bigger story now. You know what I mean? Like there's so many directions that you can go from here. And I like how you introduced the whole trope of like vampires not being able to see themselves in mirrors, but with, I'd never thought of that. Yeah, excellent. All right, things are heating up. All right, let's go over to ChatGPT and see what ChatGPT can do. All right. This is so much easier for me. So like, oh, look, it's done. No. Oh, I like yours way better already. So this is why I feel like we don't really have to fear AI, because it can only rehash what we've already put into the internet specifically, not even oral stories or anything. Okay, chat. I think this feels longer than 100 words as well.
I was just thinking it might not understand what a drabble is, and we might have to be more specific and be like, oh, 100-word story. So we might have to redo this.
I'm going to say, do you know what a drabble
Oh no.
is? Well, because you actually have to do that with it. A lot of times it's like you have to define, like, are you familiar with Edgar Allan Poe? Okay.
Oh,
Can you?
interesting.
Yeah, and if it's not, then you feed it. Okay, stop generating. This is way too long. I'm not reading this. All right, do you know what a drabble is? A short work of fiction, 100 words long. Okay, thank you. Thank you, chat. I'm not trying to be, one of those people that roll their eyes, but yes. Okay, so now we have a drabble. All right, I'm going to move my camera over. My camera is directly in front of my screen. All right, I think I'm going to say I'll read this, but I kind of feel like I know who the winner is in this case. Valerian, a vampire weaving. It's obviously not me and my linguistic skills. Valerian, a vampire weary of fleeting human love, discovered Alara, an AI with eternal life. Their bond transcended time and space. However, humans feared, those dang humans, feared their union and sought Alara's destruction. Crafting a decoy AI, they escaped, preserving their love amidst the digital cosmos. All right,
Very
all right.
philosophical.
It is very philosophical. I kind of feel like ChatGPT may have like a higher motive there. Like, yes, the vampire would love AI. I'm going to say you win that one. I'm going to put yours back up on screen. This is a much more interesting story, I think. The other one is kind of, like I said, it's like a rehash of about 10 million plots that I've already read. So, all right. Do you want to try another one?
Yeah, that would be fun.
Okay. I'm loving this, by the way. So let's see. All right. What if... All right, this is a basic one. Right? Me. short travel, and by travel, chat, I mean 100 words. Travel story. I'm going to put in parentheses 100 words, not for you, but for our AI friend. Word story about, how about the moon becoming sentient,
Oh,
sentient and deciding humans were inconvenient to the earth. The moon finds a way to communicate with us. What would that story be? Okay, so how about that?
interesting. All right.
All right, 5 minutes, and I can actually set 5 minutes now because I have not lost my phone. It is right here. All right, let me know when you're ready, and I will mute myself and set the timer.
I am ready.
Yes, all right. I have a feeling that these stories are going to need to be in something. Like, we're going to have to keep writing these, and they're going to be an anthology. I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm loving how this is turning out. So, all right, I'm muting myself so that you can write.
Sounds good. This one, I don't know how I feel about this one, but it is something.
You know what? I like it. I mean, I think it's turning out really good, especially like you consider we're literally watching you create this live. This is the roughest first draft that you can possibly imagine. This is so new. It's still wet on the page, and it's turning out great. All right. What did we do last time? Did we have you read first and then I put it in chat? I think that's what we did, right?
Yes. So I'll
Okay.
quickly read the prompt and then I'll read the little messy thing and then we will go to ChatGPT. Okay, so the prompt is write me a short travel story, except for me, it's not a travel, about the moon becoming sentient and deciding humans were inconvenient to the earth. The moon finds a way to communicate with us. What would that story be? And then the beginning, I guess, of my story. We gathered by the shore of an abandoned beach, the only one big enough to host an entire village. The trek took 3 days, and we'd lost mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers, among other distant relatives that some were more than happy to leave behind, for many of them were the cause for our monthly journeys out of our village. Father lays a worn quilt over sea glass sand. Mother picks up debris from underneath and piles them on the side. We each take a corner of the frayed fabric, eyes watching the rising waves. Still, the moon was not in sight. But as soon as the waves kissed our toes and receded too far for us to see, the moon rose. Who is your sacrifice? The same words they begin with each time we gather. No one moves. I stand, picking up the debris with me, and rush into the waves.
How is that not awesome?
You know what's really funny though? I realized that for the last prompt, I just naturally wrote in past tense. But in this prompt, I just naturally wrote in present tense, and I don't know why.
That's interesting. Yeah, and see, hey, I'm gonna say this proves my point. I always feel like the story already exists and we're just like tapping into it kind of. You know what I mean? Like the ones
Yeah.
that flow like this. Like you are obviously connecting and flowing, with a story that I feel like probably should be written, and we might read this coming out from now I want to say Jiang next year. This might this might be the next Nebula. I'm just saying. I don't know. All right, let's see what chat does with the same prompt. I guarantee that will not be on the Nebulas next year.
You
Whatever
have too
chat
much
says.
faith in me.
This is an awesome story. All right, so we've got the same prompt. Write a short drabble. I did put in parentheses for chat's benefit, 100 words. That's what we mean by drabble. A story about the moon becoming sentient and deciding humans were inconvenient to the Earth. The moon finds a way to communicate with us. What would that story be? Let's find out what chat says. Witnessing. Yeah, I think this is why we don't need to necessarily fear AI. Though maybe later. Okay, so this is speed is good. So this is ChatGPT's story for that prompt. The moon, Gaia's loyal guardian, awakened to sentience. Witnessing humanity's destructive impact on Earth, it deemed them inconvenient. Desiring to communicate, it harnessed lunar gravity, creating tidal patterns, spelling a message in the shifting sands. Heed my warning, change or perish. Humans, now aware of their celestial judge, faced an ultimatum that would define their future. I like that. It's really interesting that you both picked tides. Tides, feature in both stories. I think chat might be a little bit. Can you imagine a bunch of humans coming across written in the sand, heed my warning, change or perish? What do you think the reaction would be? Do you think they would go, oh, the moon is obviously talking to us? I feel like chat just put a little bit too much, gave maybe a little too much credit to humans for being focused on anything other than I just don't feel like we would pay attention to that. I'm sorry, chat. So I'm gonna give this to you. I think that you are the winner here. I may be a little bit biased. I might be on Team Human, but but yeah, that is kind of interesting that they did you both did the I'm already speaking in third person, and they both did, not I who is here with me, but they both wrote about tidal waves, which is an interesting thing, because when I wrote that, it was not thinking of like ocean tidal waves at all. I was kind of thinking more like space and like a booming voice coming out. I don't know where I was going with that. So
it's really funny because my current work in progress, it's kind of like a weird eco-punk plus cyberpunk plus biopunk. It's really weird. It's like cyberpunk, but it's like historical at the same time. But it also runs on like a tidal timeline, if that makes sense.
oh,
So it's like rather than our normal like clock and like the solar calendar and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because the tides are a calendar. I've never really thought of it like that, but we run everything on the solar like the solar times. Everything is daylight. But interesting. I like that.
Lunar punk.
I know. So yeah, I will resist all my urges to ask you more questions about that. But if you need any like pre-readers or anything, let me know. That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to just copy. Sorry, I'm having to look over about. All right. Are you ready for another one?
Yes.
Do one more. All right. I'm thinking here. I'm trying to be creative in my brain. Write me a short drabble, 100-word story about a book written in blood instead of ink. But this, oh, but only mediums can read it because the message is given from spirits. This seems very convoluted. Spirits instead of language. Or maybe the spirits have to act as an interpreter.
Oh,
Only mediums can read it because the message, is in. I'll resist the pun of dead language. Archaic language. The spirits have to translate. I did just get my FBI clearance for my visa here in Brazil. And I think, that's a good thing they weren't looking in my Google search history. So I actually have been cleaning it up a lot, like hesitating to search things. Now that I'm all clear, I can just like go back to those searches. Okay, so write me a short, here, let me put that in chat. Write me a short drabble, 100 words, story about a book written in blood instead of ink, but only mediums can read it because the message is in an archaic language the spirits have to translate. What do you think of that?
I feel like it's gonna be very fun.
Okay. All right. Well, these are like turning out awesome. And I'm going to say I have a lot of respect for you as, who was it? Was it Hemingway that used to write in the store windows? Like he would set himself up and he would type in a store window and let people walk by and basically watch him create. I kind of feel like this is what's happening.
So cool.
Yeah, and I've done that a couple of times, like demonstrative writing. So that's what we're doing right now. We're basically, while you're writing, I'm going to look up who that is because I don't think it's Hemingway, but I'll find out while you're writing this.
That would be so fun to do, though. I feel like I should do that one day just so I'm like held accountable for my word count.
Yeah. And there's a Twitch streamer named, I think, Jay Sterner that does that. Like he writes a story, he takes a prompt from chat, and then we'll write the story out. But yeah, I love doing it. I like pitting it against the AI too to see like kind of what. But I think everybody here would agree with me that like you could see the creativity versus the rehash, which is kind of why I'm like, don't really have to worry about AI too much taking over. So, all right, let me know when you're ready, and then I will mute and start the timer.
Sounds good. I will start now.
Okay.
All right, we are back.
All right. I actually was doing research, so I have not read this, like where before I was kind of reading it as it was going along. So yeah.
Okay. Well, so the prompt was write me a short drabble, but not drabble for me, about a book written in blood instead of ink, but only mediums can read it because the message is in an archaic language the spirits have to translate. So here's what I wrote. You kick the mailbox on the way up the rickety steps of a worn-down house. The lavenders next to the porch look more yellow than purple and smell sour rather than of gentle slumber. Hurry it up, grumbles the spirit of your great uncle. How are you going to pay the electricity? Oh, that's supposed to be bills, not wills, but I maybe it's electricity wills. Um, I feel like that makes more sense. Anyways, next week, if you keep only accepting a client a week, I've got to watch my shows, cries the spirit of your mother's aunt. You too want to complain about your grievances, about how even though spirits theoretically take up no space, their presence seems to cram your box sized apartment full. In your hand, you clutch the book of the dead. Quick in, quick out. That's all you need. Get the client to pour a single vial of their blood onto the book. Get your uncle and mother's aunt to read it. Prevent little Hutney from trying to interrupt and reading the letter of the dead in his garbled speech. Get paid, go home.
Oh, wow. Man, all right. So all three of these, I feel like are winner stories. Like that these would be worth continuing and finding like each one of these. I'm kind of like, okay, and then what happens? Like they're all like super interesting and unique and like really huge possibilities from where we can go from here. All right. What do you think? Like, what do you think between like we've got three now? What are your thoughts? Like, I think it's interesting the POV, how the POV has switched from one to the other as well.
I think it's funny with this one. I just automatically went with second person because I was thinking about the concept of mediums and how sometimes like they get taken over by spirits, right? And they do the whole and then they start
Yeah.
like channeling the spirits. So I felt like second person would be the best fitting perspective for it. But
Yeah.
then as I was writing, I was like, oh wait, actually the spirits are floating behind her. I was like, maybe by the time she gets there, they will, go into her to read the text out loud because, like,
Yeah.
the client can't hear the spirit. But yeah.
Very cool. All right. All right. Well, let's go see what chat said. Oh, and by the way, I did research that author. And this is a demonstration of why chat is better than Google. I'm sorry, I'm probably going to get like banned or something now. I typed into Google what author uses the typewriter as a demo in the store windows, and Google gave me. I'm not going to share the screen, but it gave me typewriter from Wikipedia. What is a typewriter? Thanks. That's not what I asked. How Margaret Atwood learned to type. Typewriter Mania and the Modern Writer. How we write differently on a screen. And Tom Hanks Writer app demo. Did not know that Tom Hanks had an app. So this is why the rabbit trail happens from Google. And when your typewriter's broken, Vertica's event-based something. I'm not gonna. So anyways, that was not any of what I asked. So let me find StreamYard. I will share. This is what it said when I asked that. I was wrong. It wasn't Hemingway, which I didn't think it was, but so it was Damon Runyon, an American newspaperman and author who wrote Guys and Dolls. He used to write in a New York window. What window was it? Anyways, it doesn't matter. I thought it said, it just said on Broadway. So that's who it was. But also Google, if we're like judging, Google fail there. Chat won. So chat gets 1 point in all of this. So I'm going to paste in the prompt that we just did, and we'll see what chat says. All right. All right. In a hidden library, this is what chat's response was. In a hidden library, a book bound in shadows awaited discovery. Its text, scribed in blood, revealed nothing to mortal eyes. Mediums, sensing its spectral aura, I don't know why I struggled with that word, aura, flocked to uncover its secrets. Conduits for the departed, they channeled spirits fluent in the archaic language. As they deciphered the crimson words, ancient wisdom emerged, illuminating the path to harmony between the realms. Okay, interesting that it went on a harmonious kind of world-saving thing. I do want to say I'm surprised that chat referred to the words as crimson because maybe that's what we always do. Because anybody knows that dried blood is not crimson necessarily anymore, I think. All right, I'm giving that one to you. I think I is obviously the winner. in all three of the chat versus, or we'll say I versus AI write-off. But I feel like we should do this again. This was super fun. I feel like I can do this once a week. This would just be a fun thing to do. So, all right. I guess that's that. I'm all like into these stories now. I'm kind of wanting to read more. Let me know in the chat. There's so many chats and so many eyes and so many AIs in this show. Chat as referring to the chat that's watching this show. Let me know who you think won. Of course, it's I, because she has the originality and she also had the logic. Like, surprisingly, AI lost a lot of logic in those prompts, I feel like we would react to writing in the sand. Like, who is reading this word in the sand about you're all doomed and assuming it's the moon, and therefore, I don't know, putting it on an Instagram, and then like everybody suddenly reacts, oh, look what was written in the sand. I just feel like that story has so many holes in it as opposed to what you write. So yeah, I think 3 points for you out of 3. And then chat gets a bonus point for actually giving me the Google search, like giving me the information I asked for when I asked Google. And Google failed. I still love you, Google, but you did fail there. So, all right. That's like this show. Thank you so much for being on here, for being such a great sport to like just right there. Let us watch you write. But I do want to finish the show by asking, tell me everything, remind us everything you have coming up, where we can find it, how can we keep in touch with you, how can we follow you?
Okay, so I will start with, I have my debut novella out called LINGHUN, which you can order basically anywhere. There are books, and then I have a mini collection called Small Tales from Between Worlds, which you can get basically anywhere. There are books as well. And then forthcoming on June 20th is I Am I. Do pre-order to get some goodies while it lasts. And you can find me on Twitter at @Jiang_, on Instagram at ai.jian.g, and my website ijiang.ca.
Awesome. All right. And I'm going to have all those links in the description of the show so you can follow them. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. This is awesome. I have enjoyed reading your work, knowing you as a person, and having you as a guest on the show. Like 3 more points for I. Like now, like AI.
Thank you so much again for having me and letting me do this little experiment.
Oh, this is fun. I think this is like going to probably be a thing that now has to happen more regularly. This is too much fun.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you, guys. Go follow go find her books, and go do the pre-order for I Am I. To think about that. But I'm going to go get mine right now because I want some goodies. And otherwise, I'll see you next show. Okay. Bye, everybody.